And this is what you now, I know you have a book out there on sales and you do a lot of sales training. So I thought maybe we'd spend a few times as long as we got you, let's pick your brain on, what are you teaching people? I'm like, what, let's start at the beginning. If I want to start cold calling, I want to start prospecting. What do I do? Like, I'm brand new, never done this before. What do I do?
So the first thing you got to do is you got to get rid of everything you've ever learned about cold calling. And so one of the things that you guys hear this, you guys get, these calls from these people, right? Has your mom ever called you and asked, is Mr. Turner there?
No.
Okay. One of the things, what happens we got to do is we got to get out of this, is so-and-so there. And so what we do is I just call you like we're friends. Hey, Brandon. And you're going to pause. And Tony Robbins calls this a pattern interrupt. And what's going to happen is you're like, oh, this person knows who I am. I better pay attention. And the experience we're looking for is, I just want you to imagine the last time you were at the supermarket or at the mall and someone walked up to you with a big, bright face like, hey, Brandon, how you doing? In your mind, you're like,
it happened yesterday.
Yeah.
I was at church. This lady's like, oh, hi, how are you? And I was like, I'm good. She's like, Brandon. Yeah, she knew my name. And I have never talked to that lady. I don't know who she is. It was the weirdest thing. And that's
the experience we're looking for on a cold call.
Yep.
So I was like, hey, Brandon. And you're like, oh, I better pay attention. And then I'm going to call and say, and I'm going to continue the conversation. Hey, Brandon. My name is Steve Trang. I'm a real estate investor. I probably caught you at a bad time. And the reason why is because every real estate training or sales training is like, is now a good time or is now a bad time. That's the general sales training, which it works, but those are yes, no questions you generally get hung up on. So I say, probably caught you at a bad time. And you're going to say, well, I don't know, like what's this about? And then I'm going to start my pitch. Then I'm going to start the conversation. But what I've done is I've bought some time to have more conversations versus, hi, is this Mr. Turner? My name is Steve. Have you thought about selling your home? I mean, it's a click either on that first question or the second question. I just want to get past those two checkpoints, and then we can have a real conversation.
What are the mistakes that most newbies kind of make? I mean, it's really like they just ask the questions like that. I mean, like, do you see other things that are very common?
They ask those questions. How are you doing today? Is now a good time?
Oh, I hate how are you doing today?
Yeah, right? Like, do you really care? Because if it's a yes, then they can't wait to tell you how awesome their day has been. I got to do my yoga, I got to run my errands, this and that, which is not conducive to income. Or if it's a bad time, like, where do you go from here? Like, my grandmother passed away, I'm still recovering. Like, where do you go from that conversation? So the point is, we don't ask how you're doing today. We just ask them, you got your home, 123 Main Street. I don't suppose you've ever thought about selling it. I said, well, maybe. And then once we hear that possibility, then we'll have that conversation. But it's like, no, I'm not really interested in selling it. It's like, okay, great. Didn't think so. And then we just kind of move on.
I've noticed a couple times here, you've phrased it in kind of a negative way. Is that on purpose? Where you're saying like, absolutely. Oh, it probably got you in a bad time. You don't want to sell, do you? Like,
yeah, absolutely. Because I would imagine all of us here and most people listening hate being told there's something that we can't do. Like, the best way to motivate me is tell me I can't do it, and I will go prove you wrong. And so we always tell them, probably caught you at a bad time, probably not interested in selling. Well, that will be a conversation starter versus, are you interested in selling your home? No. Click.
It feels good to say no, especially to a cold caller. So
it does.
If the no is actually gets you what you want, that's genius. That's
right,
really
and
good.
It protects your ego because your feelings aren't hurt. They didn't reject you.
That's really good. It's similar when I would look for partners back in the day, like when I was like, I guess I kind of still do it today too. The line I would always use is like, I'm looking for a whatever. I'm trying to buy this duplex. I'm looking for somebody who can bring the down payment. And I would say, you don't know anybody who would be interested in that, do you? Like, and it was a way, and it's not quite a negative, but what I was doing, I was making it so that they could easily say, well, actually, I might be interested, right? I took it off of a direct asking of them to a kind of a side. I was asking if they knew anybody, and it got their mind. And every time they'd answer, well, I might be interested. And it worked really, really well like that. So
I think that's a big component to people that are trying to get started and they're not sure what to do. It feels so awkward when you just fumble your way through there. And then once you figure out a semi-natural way to do it, it goes from being horribly awkward to not that bad. And for the new people, they think it's going to be that awkward every time. They're like, I'm going to make 100 phone calls that are this painful. But it doesn't. You slowly figure it out. You start picking up these little things that Steve said, like, well, if I say it this way, I make it easy to slam the door in my face. If I say it this way, I buy myself another couple minutes. I noticed the few times that I did it, I would rush through the initial intro. Hey, this is David Green with Keller Williams. Like, nobody wants to hear that. Yeah. And I would slow down right when I got to the point of, hey, we just listed a house right across the street from you over there on Spruce. And now there's somewhat like, oh, yeah, I know that street. What's going on? What's the house for? Yeah. And once I figured that out, those calls became much less painful. I just pushed through the awkward part, and you start learning how to build that rapport. So would you mind sharing a couple other like pieces of advice for what you do psychologically to increase your conversion, but make it less, like you said, the rejection isn't as bad?
Yeah, so like Brandon mentioned earlier, is that takeaway, we're negative, we're telling them how they can't help us, probably got you a bad time, probably not interested in selling that property. I think the biggest thing is that awkwardness that you just pointed out, and awkwardness is one of those things that it's a muscle. You got to develop that callus because it's awkward as heck the way we talk. It's not a natural talking style. But what happens is when you make those awkward statements, like you're probably not, I'm looking to get this property funded. You probably don't know anyone that's interested in investing in this. And then they can't wait to jump in. The other thing I would say is you got the best exercise for this in trying to get to use awkward silence to get someone to communicate their thoughts more. Is just think about the last time you had a conversation and someone was saying something and you knew the word but was coming. You just knew it. You were just waiting for it. Instead of saying but, say the word and. And when you say and, they will keep talking and they'll finish their stream of thought. So and is one I use a lot. Because is one I use a lot. They'll say something and I'll say because, and they'll just keep talking. They'll finish their thought. And then the ones that my partner Max, he uses all the time, so much that he almost got thrown out of his car by his wife, is which means. They'll say something, which means, and then they'll continue that thought and give you more information. And when we're in sales, it's a game of intelligence, right? Not how smart you are, but how much intelligence you gain from the other side. And so we deliberately do not talk very much. And by not talking very much, it forces the other person to talk. But if they're talking, guess what? They feel heard, they feel listened to, they feel appreciated. And if you can deal with a prospect who feels heard, listened, and appreciated, are they going to do business with you? Versus the sales guy that's going to talk over them, waiting to get the word and waiting for someone to finish the statement so they can jump in and interject.
Which means... was that like the right
that
way
was
that you
exactly it?
Right? All right, I really like that a lot. Yeah, which means or and that's good. Yeah, if you get people talking, it's gonna be a lot better. So what do you do if they say no? I mean, like no, I don't want to sell, or no, I haven't thought about selling. Do you just okay, thanks?
Yeah, I didn't think so. And you probably don't have any other rental properties or pieces of land you've thought about selling. Nope, got it. And you don't know anyone that's possibly thinking about selling property? Nope, great. Have a great day.
Do you have a follow up after that?
Nah, we just move on.
Yeah, there's no interest there. But your ego didn't get smashed because if you say, would you sell your property to me? No. Oh, he doesn't.
You get a little deflated.
Do you have another property you might sell to me? No. And you're just like digging deep to try to put yourself out there. I like the way you said that. One of the ways that I'll do that is when I'm saying, hey, I'm looking for a person who would be good at doing something that I want to hire someone for. Right. Do you know anyone that would be a great loan officer that would be wanting to make around $300,000 a year and do this and that? And they're thinking, I would want that. But that's so much better than if I say, do you want it? They're like, no, I like my job.
Yep. Hit him from the side. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other piece was that you're capitalizing on momentum in the conversation. So you're slowly building that up. You're getting a couple easy answers and then they answer and then you say, and that means, and it just keeps that momentum going as opposed to what we said earlier, trying to start from scratch with a new conversation every time. That's very smooth. I see how you picked up all those girls at the club, Steve. You're giving us your secrets.
No, I was an engineer back in those days.
You probably don't know anybody who'd want to buy you a drink, do you? That's funny.
You don't know anyone who'd want a drink from me, right? Yeah. Do you know anyone who might want a free drink right now and a really good conversation?
That's funny. All right. So what other tips you got for people? Obviously, you've written tons of stuff on this. You've got a book on it. You've got training. But what other things can help people if they're afraid to cold call, but they know that they need to get that first deal? What should they do?
An exercise that we've done in our training program is, and you guys have bear with me. I'm going to kind of explain it versus doing it, on a spreadsheet. But if you just think about anytime you get, whether it's an assignment fee or a commission or a deal, whatever, there's a value associated with it. So, just take for example, in wholesaling, $15,000 is a pretty common assignment fee. And so we celebrate the yes. Like we get a yes, we get a contract, we're excited, right? So every closing is about 15,000, but we also know that you don't close every single deal. So really, we know it takes about 2 contracts to cash a check. So then we know really we got to get 2 contracts to get that fee. And then we do the math, say, okay, well, we want to get 2 contracts. How many appointments do we need? Well, we need about 6 appointments. Okay, so we know we need 6 appointments. Okay, to get 6 appointments, how many conversations do we need to have? Okay, maybe 60. All right, well, to have 60 conversations, how many cold calls do we need to have? About 600. Okay, but what do we know now? When we do the math, it works out. It's about $2.50 per cold call, per dial. You're making $2.50 per dial. And let's just say we're fluffing a little bit, the number's a little off. Let's just say it's $1 per dial. Could you slam out 60 dials per hour? That's a 6-figure job. If you could slam out 60 dials per hour, that's a 6-figure job. Right. So that's the mindset you got to go in. So people are always, like, I hate rejection, and they celebrate the yeses. In our team, we celebrate rejection. So whoever gets the most rejections in the week gets a free lunch of their choice.
Oh, no way. I love that.
Because now we know whoever gets the most rejections is going to get the most contracts. But instead of focusing on contracts, we're focusing on rejections.
That's so good. What we're doing is you're taking it from a results-oriented goal into a process-oriented goal, right? So rather than I'm going to lose 20 pounds, it's I'm going to eat 2,000 calories a day, or I'm going to work out 5 days a week. That's genius. I love it. And I love how, it takes a lot of the emotion, the sadness of, I've been working at this for a while and haven't gotten anything yet this week. Well, did you make your calls? Like, you can kind of reverse engineer success in a lot I like to say like success shouldn't be a surprise. You should be like, wow, I got 4 deals this week. Well, yeah, because I did 4 times more calls than I did last week. Mm-hmm. We teach at Bigger Pockets all the time about the LAPS funnel, right? LAPS. You got to get leads that come in. You got to analyze them. You got to pursue them. So make an offer. And at the bottom, S, success. You're going to get success on some of them. And so if you want to, you want more deals, just open up the faucet a little more, get more leads, analyze more, make up more offers, or pursue more. If you want less, then do less. It's not rocket science. But to go back to what you said at the beginning, this isn't rocket science. It's just